Hollywood would like us to believe that hackers lead exciting lives and have model good looks. But in the real world, I have a hunch that working as a hacker is a lot closer to a game like Sorry, James than anything you see on the big screen. It turns the tedium of decrypting files into a brief but compelling adventure that is equal parts puzzle game and visual novel. And while the prospect of reading about a young woman in her long-distance relationship may not sound like a great time, I assure you that it's a lot more exciting than it lets on. You play a person tasked with decrypting a bunch of computer files that all seem to be related to a young woman named Elisa. We're told early on not to peek at the private data, but Elisa's hunt for a man named Tom, who may or may not have stolen her underwear, is impossible to ignore. The idea is to work through a series of increasingly complicated puzzles, and then read the next part of their juicy conversations. What makes this game so hard to put down is that we only get a small chunk of the story with each file, and most of them are completely out of order. To make matters worse, we're only seeing Elisa's part of the conversation, something the game uses to its advantage more than once. This is one of those games that starts out as a lurid romance novel, but quickly turns into something much, much more complicated. Sorry, James is the very definition of a slow burn. Even though it's doled out in small bites, we eventually get to know a lot about Elisa and the person she's talking to. We learn about her past relationships, sex fantasies, family, and thoughts on pets. And in exchange, we slowly figure out who that other guy is through her reactions. It's one of those stories where I had no idea where it was going to end up, yet it seemed so obvious in the end. The puzzles themselves aren't nearly as intriguing as the story, but they're fun and constantly evolving. It feels like a mix between Sudoku and Minesweeper, where you spend the whole time filling in squares with either a solid white or a clear marker. The goal is to link enough things together to make a certain square add up to the right number. They play with this formula by creating broken grids you have to fix, and then adding multiplication. These puzzles only get larger and more complex as you work through the 5 chapters, yet I never got to the point where I needed to give up. I'm a big fan of the way this game looks and sounds. Sorry, James is presented as if you're using an old monochromatic monitor, complete with a slight strobe and some weird ghosting issues. There's a heavy buzz in the background, reminding you that the monitor is on and not energy efficient. I like the way you go from breaking into files to chatting with your coworker and boss. Sorry, James could have gone a lot deeper with some of the stuff, but the way they use the technology is incredibly effective. What I love is that this game isn't afraid to break the rules. Hell, it starts out on a blank login screen with no other information. You literally have to exit the game and search the Steam page for the proper credentials, which is pretty much all you need to know about what this game thinks of hand-holding. And it's not just that beginning, but how the rest of the game unfolds. There's something a little off about every aspect of Sorry, James. From the unorthodox beginning to the way the story is presented, there's a lot I liked and admired about Sorry, James. At the same time, this is a game that clearly won't be for everybody. This is a game where you solve challenging puzzles and read a one-sided conversation from a 20-something woman named Elisa. If you're still on board after that description, then be prepared for a mind-bending story about life, sex, and technology. Hey, thanks for watching our review. So here's the question I have for you. Do you have an old school style you wish more games would emulate? I know the 8 and 16-bit eras have been done to death, so I'm wondering if the next big thing is going to be those low poly games that pretend to be 32-bit. We've already seen a couple of those, but you know what I mean. Let me hear your thoughts in the comments below. So, I meant to review this game a couple of months ago, but it ended up getting pushed back for a bunch of dumb reasons. That's what a lot of January is going to be. I have a bunch of games from the last 2 months that need reviews, so expect to see those sprinkled in with some of the new stuff in regular shows. If you're okay with that, then I recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then,